Howdy, hello, and welcome to the 5th episode of the Preferred Podcast. I'm your host, director, producer, writer, composer, editor, and actor, Sajay Preferred.
And I'm the Heart of Alabama and the co-host of this prestigious podcast, Amber Valentine.
The Preferred
After a crazy week of drag, work, and slay, it's time to sit down and spill the tea, girl.
And we're going to dive deep into the recent episode of RuPaul's Drag Race as well. But first, let's get into the topic of slay.
Slay!
We do this for our drag living, and y'all love to watch us do this as well. Today's topic of slay is drag shows.
Come on, drag shows.
Yeah, so we're going to be talking about the types of drag shows, ones that we're a part of, and some of the ones in the Birmingham scene.
Yeah, there's quite a few new ones.
Yeah. So before we get into it, let's get into the basics of drag shows. If you don't know, drag queens, people who put on clothing to accentuate a vibe or a persona.
Gay gasp.
Gay gasp. When it comes to drag shows, it is when these people who are drag entertainers get onto stage. A lot of drag entertainers are performers at heart, such as myself, yourself. If we did not have the stage, we would not be doing drag.
Exactly.
So therefore, drag shows are these events. You know what I mean? It's when drag queens come together and they perform their talents. A lot of them portray different talents. My personal talent is performing, lip syncing. I do a little 1-2 step. And that's just me. You're more of like a slower park and mark queen.
Hey girl, I can throw some feeling into a good ballad.
You can do a cartwheel too.
I can throw in a good ballad. Mm-hmm. I would pick my ballads over my cartwheels. Mm-hmm. I said that like 3 times.
If you didn't know, Amber Valentine can really throw a good ballad. And by a good ballad, you mean I Will Always Love You by Whitney Houston, and that's the only one. Anyways,
not the only one, but it's the best one.
But drag shows as a whole, they're pretty common, especially nowadays, especially after RuPaul's Drag Race, which we will be talking about here soon. But what was your first drag show that you ever saw?
So the first one that I ever saw was actually back home, my senior year of high school. Actually, no, I had just graduated high school. And went to my first Pride in Lansing, Michigan.
Back in 2015. Was that a Pride show?
Yeah. An actual Pride Fest. And that was like the only Pride Fest I had ever been to until I moved down here.
And I feel like a Pride show is like a totally different event. You know what I mean? For one, it's a lot of shows usually at once. It's also like a big event. So you get to be a part of a lot of things at once. You know what I mean? And celebrating overall just queerness.
So really my first like actual drag show wasn't until I moved down to Alabama. I was first.
And that was the first place you ever performed at, wasn't it? Mm-hmm. Yeah, because that was literally the next one that was the next prompt to bring up. Was our first drag show that we were a part of. So my first show that I ever attended, I'm going to go with, this is probably wrong, but I'm going to go with, it was a Battle of the Seasons tour. From Drag Race. Specifically,
is that the one of your picture that's
no, that was the season 8 tour. I think it was specifically a Battle of the Seasons right after season 6.
Oh, okay.
But I could be mistaken.
So you were still in like kindergarten?
Well, no, I was in high school.
What year was that?
No, I was in middle school because I remember not having glasses then. I don't know. I'll have to look it up. But yeah, that was my first ever going to see a drag
2014. Show. Because season 7 was the one Violet won. Mm-hmm. And that was the year I graduated.
Well, no, it was right in between 6 and 7. Because Bianca was the host.
So, the year I graduated high school.
Yeah. And then the first one I ever performed in was at DDC. But there are, of course, different types of shows, all across the board. So you have drag brunches. Mm-hmm. You have drag matinees. You have all ages shows. You have double feature shows. Mm-hmm. When it's a pre-show and then an after show.
They're starting to do drag dinners now too.
Drag matinees.
Bro, there's not going to be no Matt in my name.
But also then of course, Pride events, you have tours such as Drag Race tours, and even regular queens, when
us.
No. I mean, maybe coming to a city near you. But no, when what were Jan's group called? I don't remember. But they went on a tour and they weren't Drag Race girls. But anyway, so on and so forth. Because, you know, that was my first experience to a drag show, was a tour. Mm-hmm. With those, you also have, like, different types of shows. You know, you have, like, late night shows such as The Quest, where it's, like, more of, like, a party central show. Drag-focused shows, such as, you know, in the Birmingham scene, there's Owls. Mm-hmm. You have your more grungy alternative scene of shows, which in the Birmingham scene is the Nick. Mm-hmm. And then you have, like I said, the brunches, you know.
You have things like open stages, like DIY at the Firehouse.
Competitions, so on and so forth. But, you know, touching on the brunches is a whole different scene, in my opinion.
I love brunch.
I am obsessed with brunches. I love drag brunches so much. Mm. I would never expect myself to like drag brunches because I'm not a morning person. If you know, you know.
And we hate day drag.
Yes. But there's something about a drag brunch. I don't know what it is.
It's because you have an excuse to get drunk early.
And I think it's the audience members of drag brunches are very appreciative of drag. Mm. Mainly because they don't know what drag is. So anytime they see drag, they're like, oh my God, living. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I feel like that's a huge spark with wanting to do a drag brunch. Mm-hmm. The queens who work in drag brunches are a totally different type of queen. You know what I mean? Like they're your workhorse queens. You know what I mean? Like, you know, Drag Race, Kasha Davis, she says it very well. Brunch. Brunch.
Yeah, I love a good brunch. I was just at one this past weekend. Mm-hmm. Well, I showed up.
Didn't show out.
No, I showed up during the last number. On accident. You know, that drag time's real, though. Drag time's real.
So, we already mentioned, like, half of the shows in Birmingham. But just to go over more in depth, you know, of the shows in the Birmingham scene, we have the most famous ones being Owls on 7th and The Quest. Mm-hmm. The Quest is your oldest drag bar in the Birmingham area. It's also your only 24-hour drag bar in the Birmingham area. And it features shows Friday and Saturday.
Mm-hmm. Friday and Saturday night.
Owls features shows Wednesday, karaoke on Thursday, and then Friday and Saturday shows.
And karaoke on Sunday.
And then you also have Trim Tab, which is a venue that does drag.
It's a brewery.
Yes, not more so of a drag show or a club. It's more of a venue that allows drag to be hosted there. But this is a pretty cool event to go to whenever they do occur. A lot of them are DIYs.
The Bevy also performs there.
Yeah, a burlesque show as well. But these are ran by Twat, the DIY shows, and then by Patsy So Fine with or is it?
It's Femi.
Mm-hmm. These are, you know, different types of shows in the Birmingham area. And then you, of course, as mentioned, have the Nick. The Nick is your once a month type of show, which is the more alternative drag in the area. You have quite a few brunches. You have Babes Who Brunch. I don't know. I'm pretty sure they're still going on.
Yes.
That is at Rojo. Mm-hmm. And then you also have Karis's All-Stars Drag Brunch in Avondale. Location. Yes, in Avondale. And then you also have the Stardom Brunches, which is actually where I work at. That is actually hosted by Flip Phone Events, who is in Tennessee. They are Drag Race associated branding company. Oh, and they are hosted by Jen Dior Fierce.
Okay.
Yeah. And I believe Karis is actually in the next one. She used to actually host the brunches at Stardome, but then she found a new location, so on and so forth.
And the new location is beautiful.
Mm-hmm. And then you also have brunches at Monday Night Brewing, which is where you went to.
Yep, the Mystic Crew Caritas, the day after the ball.
And they have some brunches like Cam, who has been featured on my YouTube channel, also had a brunch there as well.
Mm-hmm. Is it Monday Night Brewing? Or, no, it's High Wire Brewing does Drag Bingo.
You're right, yep.
With Flapjack and Fawn.
Mm-hmm. And there's a bunch of other pop-up shows that come around, but those are the main ones that constantly repeat. Mm-hmm. If we haven't, I know we've spoken on it, but DIY is another huge one. They just recently announced DIY is coming back. They are usually hosted at Trim Tab. I believe the next one is at Trim Tab.
The majority of them have been at Firehouse. I think Trim Tab is kind of like where they go if they can't get the Firehouse. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm excited to see that come back out.
And Firehouse is just, it's a community center.
A very small one.
I low-key loved it.
It gets very hot.
It was very much so like the Nick. I love the vibe of the Nick, which we'll get into that in a second, but I just, it's very like DIY, no pun intended. You know what I mean? Like very like a shed in the back. And that's something I would do. I would totally, random off topic, but when I was a kid, I was obsessed with haunted houses for some reason and took my granny's shed and made it into a haunted house for my friends.
I'm so weak.
And that's something I would do.
You were that gay.
I was, yeah. There's quite a few drag opportunities in Birmingham, actually. And it's, you know...
Oh, Saturn.
Oh, yeah, Saturn. Saturn is another huge one. They have a lot of pop-up shows as well. When it comes to the main cast ones, the ones that are constantly being, you know, producing shows, it would be Owl's, Quest, The Nick, DIY, whether they be at Firehouse or Trim Tab. Do you have a favorite Birmingham show or Birmingham scene that you usually... I mean, Quest is kind of unfair because that's you work at Quest.
Right.
Do you have one that you kind of see yourself always going to?
Definitely the ones at Saturn.
Saturn is a very unique bar,
and it's just such a nice venue.
And it's not a drag bar. It's a club. You know, it's like a regular. It's actually kind of like a hangout bar.
I would say because it's split into two separate areas. In the back, you have the stage, the party area, and a whole bar. And on the front side, you have a whole bar with all the tables, and you have like different video games and stuff by the bathrooms that you can play, board games. All that fun stuff.
But it's, you know, a venue that, once again, is used for drag.
I almost always try to go to the events at Saturn.
I've only been to one drag show at Saturn, but I've been to several events at Saturn. Milk and honey. But mine would hands down go to the Nick. I love the Nick's environment. I love all the shows they produce. If it's not the Nick, it's definitely Owl's. Owl's is such a very professional place.
Owl's would be my second one for sure.
Yeah. Out of all of those places in Birmingham, we are a part of none. No, just kidding.
You're a part of none.
Well, yeah, I was getting to that. You're a cast member at Quest, and you often do Drag Assassins at Owl's, which you can catch her today when this is coming out. At the Drag Assassins, and you can catch me in the crowd. I will not be performing, but I will hopefully be there.
She'll be picking up my tips. When
it comes to me, I was at the Quest, which we're going to talk about actually later, but I was at the Quest with you this past week, and then I perform occasionally at the Nick. I also do Drag Assassins, but I'm not on cast anywhere here in the area. I have my own shows in Dothan, Alabama. 3 hours away. But I don't really do shows up here. I kind of just pick up shows whenever they are, you know, I'm what they call a special guest, a rotating special guest.
Well, I mean...
I'm passed around. What are some shows that you would like to be a part of? Whether, I mean, in the Birmingham area or outside of the Birmingham area?
For sure, Saturn.
Oh, yeah. Saturn, if you're listening.
Saturn
specifically. The planet Saturn. If you were listening.
Saturn. Or Cap. Because they host a lot of events there, so. If you're listening. Definitely more brunches. I've only done one brunch in the 2.5 years that I've done drag, and I absolutely loved it. So I definitely more brunches, and then really just venturing outside of Alabama in general. I really do want to go home back to Michigan and go to Grand Rapids to the Rumors nightclub.
Yeah, I would love to do a show at Saturn because I feel like that would be really, really fun to be a part of. I would also just love to I would love to bring the preferred show to Birmingham. You know what I mean? Do a preferred edition where it's Birmingham.
You can't use that now.
Where it's Birmingham Queens as like a main cast, but then the special guests come from around different cities instead of just Dothan. But I think that would be really fun. As far as that, I would love to do a show at Play in Louisville.
Yep.
The stage is just so really huge.
What's the one in Nashville?
Play.
Oh.
Yeah, they're both plays.
Oh, okay, that's what I thought. Because Lips is in Atlanta, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay.
And Lips. I don't know. It's so weird to me because I hate working in the food industry, but I love doing a drag show in front of like people eating. That's so weird. It was so fun when I first did my it's so weird. I know.
I'm sorry, I tried so hard to hold that laugh.
It was so
but
weird.
That was so funny.
It was, I know, but I thought it was fun. When I did my first brunch, I was obsessed with it. My first brunch was in Columbus at the Misskirts brunch, or the Outskirts brunch, excuse me.
Oh, fancy. Schmancy.
I would love to start a brunch. I was actually in talks with the owner of Dothan Dance Club, who, you know, helps me with the preferred show and hosts me for the preferred show. And we were in talks about it too. You know, we won't see it. We actually were talking about it, for this February, but that did not occur.
Yeah, I know.
And if you're curious of us wanting to start a drag show, as mentioned, I've started a few in the past and hope to start a few more in the future. But you can check out my newest YouTube video, which is running a drag show. And it kind of just touches base on how I do my preferred show and how you can start running a show. Mm-hmm. But speaking of shows,
don't forget to catch myself, the Queen of Valentine's Day, in the next preferred show coming this Saturday, February 10th.
As well as Gina, Florian, Johnny Cyrus, and of course your host, me, at the one and only Dothan Dance Club.
With that show to come, it's time to talk about another super popular drag show.
However, this one is on the big screen. Amber, let's get ready to
rate these queens.
After last week's heated episode, Amber and I were left gooped and gagged this week.
So let's take that view to a review.
Mirage is gone.
Yeah, I'm boycotting.
I'm
quitting drag.
So sad.
I'm deleting all my subscriptions that have anything to do with drag.
Yeah, I'm so sad. But in the words of Plasma, know the words.
I mean, she kind of did that to herself.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, but if she knew her words, she'd be there.
Yeah. But getting into the workroom, we see Q is very pissed.
Again.
Very pissed. And it starts to get annoying. It starts to get, like, very Jan. It's almost like, shut the fuck up, Q. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Beat it, bald. Like...
I'm so... Okay, but, like, Q is such husband material, though.
No, it just kind of gets
Even
annoying.
Even though she walks like a stick figure.
It just gets annoying. And then, like... I feel related with Plain Jane when Plain Jane gets annoyed. And Plain Jane, get her Jane. Get her Jane.
Plain got shady.
Yeah, but I see it though, because it's like, you can't sit there. And specifically, she said, whenever Plain Jane attacked her, she said she felt like Plain Jane was being insensitive. But here's my issue, and I literally, whenever this happened, I paused it immediately to tell you this. She said this not realizing she was being insensitive by saying she should win over Nymphia. That's very insensitive.
Exactly.
Because whether you see it or not, I thought Q deserved the win, but Nymphia also really deserved that win.
It was a very close call for both weeks.
So saying that's insensitive. I get it, Plain Jane could have not said that, but also I enjoyed her saying that. It made amazing TV.
We were, as soon as Plain opened her mouth, we were like, all right, here we go. Yeah. Let's do this.
But I thought that was annoying. How can you say that? Yeah.
And to get so into your feelings about it, yeah. Just work that little extra harder next time.
Yeah. But after the shady attack from Shady Jane, we get into this mini challenge, which they had to get into quick drag. And it's a very interesting mini challenge.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. One thing I have to say about it is I'm tired of Barbie Crotch. Yeah. I am so tired of Barbie Crotch.
Because not us having this conversation last night.
Yeah, literally. I'll admit it. It was with Gina.
We were shady as hell towards Gina.
And I'm pretty sure it was Plain Jane who had the Barbie crotch. But why are you serving Barbie crotch? Girl, panties are $1.26 at Walmart. Go get you a panty.
Right, like...
I don't understand. And also we see... that we're not the only ones who struggled with Megami's name. RuPaul also said not Megami, which I hands down thought that's what her name was whenever the season was first announced.
Thought that was a call out to me by RuPaul because I went how long? Like the first 2 weeks calling her that?
Literally. Megami. And I remember specifically even one time accidentally calling her Megamind.
There's no D.
Megamind. Yeah.
I'm weak.
Something I also pointed out about this mini challenge was I was obsessed with Saphira's wig. I know it was supposed to be bad, but I was living for it. It looked like the very like mullet, like grungy look. I was here for it. But through this, we see Saphira win.
Yep.
With her amazing wig, and that's her second mini challenge win.
Yep.
So she has one maxi, two minis, and that's a pretty interesting statistic right there. We then hear from RuPaul that this week is a girl group challenge promoting individual songs from her album Black Butter. Team leaders are Saphira, Plasma, and Geneva are the team captains, I guess you would say.
Which were the winner of the lip sync and the winner of the mini challenge.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And the songs that they will be performing to and writing their own verses to are Star Baby, Courage to Love, and ASMR Lover.
I don't know what it is about those three songs, but I really love those three songs.
Those are the best songs.
They really are.
They really are. I don't know if you're getting at something here.
They
really are the best songs.
They really are the best songs. And when I was gagged.
They're not the easiest songs to perform, but they really are the best songs.
I was gagged for those three to be the ones that are picked from, to be fair. Yeah.
We also found out that they are in charge of doing their own choreo, as well as, of course, their own lyrics.
Which, not gonna lie, surprised me. Especially because a lot of times the groups have so many issues with choreography. But all three groups kind of you had your little issues here and there, but it wasn't as bad as what it has been on past seasons, other than one specific one, but we'll get into that. Well, speaking of issues,
I was about to say, major issue was that Amanda and Plain Jane were casted together in the same group. And they fight, girl. They fight.
They don't fight, girl.
They fight immediately. They fight immediately.
Amanda straight up ignores Plain.
We get through the parts where they make their own verses. They're doing the choreo. Nymphia is just about bananas.
Pun intended, question mark? It made no sense to me.
Agreed.
Yeah.
I'm also confused why Plasma is the choreographer. Because she's doing too much.
I don't think it's that she's doing too much. She's going 500 miles an hour. Yeah,
and then she did that big girl donkey kick, and I was like, "Girl, you need to stop it right now."
Yeah, that was horrible.
That was bad. I'm just confused as to why, she thinks she has the potential.
A lot of queens think that. All drag is valid, though, girl.
I just kept sitting there thinking, Amanda, please take over. Because Amanda was, towards the end, she was kind of putting her little 2 cents in. And her 2 cents was definitely buying the candy because it was working.
I was like, is Amanda about to slay?
Yeah, she was doing very good. And she was doing a lot better than anyone else. She was proving us wrong.
She's, especially for Amanda. And this is episode 5?
Yeah.
And finally we get to see what Amanda can actually do. Aside from her face, because she still can't do that. But
we see Geneva's group practice their choreo, and it's a little confusing at first. And immediately what I notice is Maya is so quiet.
Yeah.
So extremely quiet.
Very keep to herself.
Yeah.
I wonder if she's just trying not to step on toes, even though she actually knows what she's doing.
While she is trying to not step on toes, Megami is trying to not step on her toes because she is not getting this choreo very well. And I feel really bad for Megami. I'm not gonna lie.
I did to a certain extent, only because it was stated those dance moves were easy. However, she's got
you and I both agreed, the dance moves were pretty easy.
But when people have 2 left feet.
It was just the fact that she was kind of reaching for help and no one was kind of helping her. And she had already had the issue in the workroom where she stated she felt like she constantly had to prove herself to people. And that's something that I relate to. So I felt bad for her in that moment. I felt like she was struggling and she wasn't getting the help that she needed. Yeah. But the Captain Geneva Ka, she fades into the background as captain. I was a little confused as to what she was doing to help the group.
I don't know. Geneva was just very stiff.
She just, as a captain for the group, whenever they were doing their choreo, she was not doing anything.
No, she was just
Maya was taking over, which I definitely agreed Maya should have been in the lead. Because we find out later on that she served it. Geneva was not a captain.
No, she literally just stood there, stiff, in one spot and just watched.
Yeah.
I don't even think she did any of the dance moves with them. She literally just stood there and stared like your cat does it. with you.
Whenever Saphira and her team came to practice their moves, Morphine was the one in charge of doing the choreo, which I completely agree with. Mm-hmm. As she states, she is the Abby Lee Miller of choreography, and she serves it. She does the choreo in a 1-2 step, teaches the girls, makes it pretty simple. Not too simple for Q.
Yeah.
It definitely gets to Q. We see the girls making fun of Q, calling her Frankenstein. And this really gagged me, to be honest. I'm not going to lie, it was a little bit of teasing, and I was a little like, but it was funny.
It was.
And it also was in the sense of Q never really tried to do better.
Right.
So, but after they practice their choreo, they have their lyrics down, they start getting on their makeup, and we get a little drama. It started by the one, the only Q. I'm going to put it out there. It was started by Q. It was not started by Plain Jane. It was started by Q.
I know that. It was started by Q. However, I also don't think Q expected to escalate the way it did. Yeah. Because of Plain Jane.
It's the
escalation was because of Plain Jane.
But she tried to talk her she couldn't back it up.
Right.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was.
Right.
And then Amanda comes in. It pops all the way off. Ooh. She pops all the way off.
She even pulled out the charisma, uniqueness, nerve, and talent, mama. She had me flying off this couch. It was, I was beside myself.
Yeah. But of course, through all of this, Shady Jane still underlines the attack, still comes for the girls, still reads them. I don't know.
Blaming it on being just a joke when we know it wasn't a joke.
We definitely know it wasn't a joke. I don't know. I don't know how to feel about it. I definitely feel like it was a very good moment for TV, and it was very quickly ended when Saphira gathered Miss Shady Jane. Mm-hmm. She very distinctly told her, "Hey, you need to calm down. You need to gather your things and leave."
Right.
But I thought that was a very interesting moment in the workroom. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. I was living for it. It was everything.
And then we gather our things for the very own girl group, and we get to see the girl groups present their own song from Black Butter. And first up, we have Dawn, Morphine, Saphira, and Q. Mm-hmm. Slayed.
I would say they all did a lot better than what I thought they were all going to do. Especially because when it comes to group challenges, there's...
well, let me take that back. I forgot they were Q.
We're talking about groups, not individually.
Well...
Because they're the rest of that group... Well, and Q, like we had said, Q was horrible in her solo part, but was at least decent with the group.
Yeah. I agree with that. In the second group, we had Plasma, Plain, Amanda, and Tsunami, who were okay. They were kind of boring. I'm not gonna lie.
They were.
As a group, they were a little lackluster. Mm-hmm. They had, meh. They were in the middle. Actually, they were in the bottom. They were.
I would say I'd prefer the other group with Q over them.
And then the last one served the most. We had Maya, Megami, Geneva, and Nymphia, who they all did 10s across the board. They were all so incredible. And we're going to individually talk about them whenever we talk about the runway, which let's talk about. The runway was Faster Pussycat, which was Pussycat wigs.
Right.
And I thought this was a very interesting runway category. I would have never guessed this, and I'm glad to see that Monet inspired a runway category.
Amen to that.
Mm. First up on the runway, we had Morphine. Oh! Everything.
Concept.
The blood dripping, the hair. And here's the tea. I am not a fan of the Pussycat wig. I'm not. I'm really not. But she did it.
That girl can wear any Pussycat wig she wants.
She really did it. And then on the challenge where she served up some choreo for the girl group, I thought she danced her little her little BB doll.
I was going to say, because she's not padded, mama.
And I thought her lyrics were decent. I thought she did an overall good job. Mm-hmm. When it comes to the rating, I'm going to give her a 9. She was pretty good.
Okay. So her runway concept was everything. I was living for it. Mm. It literally had me drooling. And for her challenge, like the body, that split with Saphira, that was everything. It was so spot on. Mm. I'm gonna have to give her a 9 because so far this week she's my number 4 out of my top 4.
Yeah, she was. And when I said that she was going to make it the top 4 and in the past episode, you laughed at me. Remember that?
I know.
Speaking of someone to laugh at, though, we next up had Q, who on the runway you were liking, I was not liking.
I thought it was everything. The back of the panties kind of like bunched up, but other than that, I liked it. Mm-hmm. That just really bothered me.
I mean, you're also more of a fan of this type of, I guess you would say, aesthetic. Mm-hmm. I am not. I don't really care for
You're more like the old school.
Yeah, but not in the old school sense of like Victorian or, you know what I mean?
You're more like
80s and 70s. I don't like anything past like
You're like
the
a
60s.
sensible Jinx Monsoon kind of style.
I would not go that far. I'm not Phasma. But I thought it was meh. I thought, honestly... I'm not trying to shade her, but I thought not wearing pads for the runway was a little interesting.
I didn't
understand that.
I feel like if she wore pads, that would have fixed her panty issue.
Yeah, because it was a little droopy diaper. Mm-hmm. And then serving in the girl group challenge, no. It was a no.
Horrible. That's all I wrote was horrible. And can we mention Mama Rue's comment to Q about being the worst dancer? Mm-hmm. And literally calling her out. Mm-hmm.
It was
so
bad.
So like somebody had to.
It was bad. For me, this week, Q was a 2.
I really loved her runway, so I'm going to give her a 4 because of that.
That's fair. Someone who is, for all, Miss Saphira Crystal. In the runway, she was everything.
Mother!
Did you catch
the reference?
Yes. And yes. And yes. And yes.
I didn't catch the reference until she did the pinky.
Yeah, the Austin Powers reference?
Yep. Once she did the pinky, I was like, I
didn't catch it from the gown, but whenever she took the hat off and revealed she was bald, that's when I caught it. But the hat revealed, or the wig, revealed to a cat, which was incredible. And it was as mentioned, an Austin Powers intertwined look, which I thought was very smart, very campy. And I'm glad to see more camp come from Saphira.
Yeah, it was everything. It was stunning and a fantastic concept.
And with the girl group, she did not disappoint. Still was stunning.
She slayed.
The judges said she was a little quiet and she was very in her head. I will say I did notice her in her head a little bit.
I noticed her facial expressions, but that's about all that I noticed.
And the only thing I would say is for someone who set themselves up to be such a great singer from the first episode, the girl group challenge, you would expect them to blow you away. But I still was not disappointed. For me, Saphira was a solid 8.
I'll give her an 8.
She was pretty.
She's up there. She's not up there, but she's up there. She's not disappointing at least.
Speaking of up, we're up until Dawn, with next up being Dawn, who on the runway was serving not a pussycat wig.
Everything.
It was everything, but it was not a pussycat wig.
Okay. But I don't remember which judge it was because, I was in a certain mental state last night. But one of them had said how they didn't get pussycat wig until she turned around. And then it gave pussycat. I don't care about the pussycat wig or not.
The whole
I don't care. That look, everything.
It gave very Oliver Tree. I don't know if you got that, but I got very Oliver Tree. Do you know who Oliver Tree is?
I don't think so.
The bowl cut, the big scooter.
Oh, yes. I know who you're talking about.
Yeah. It gave very Oliver Tree.
I see that now.
But in the girl group, I was so gagged. She was serving something I was not expecting her to serve.
Literally all I put was number 1.
Yeah, she was incredible.
It was everything.
I was blown away. She kept up. She's not a dancer. And all I'm going to say is Q, take notes.
Yeah.
Dawn is not a dancer, but Dawn knew how to take in what was being taught to her and apply it to her body.
Dawn just gave this certain vibe to her performance that nobody else gave, no matter how good anybody else was. Dawn's aesthetic and her vibe that she radiates off is so likable and so sweet, and I'm here for it. She's won my vote this week. She is my number 1 this week. Yeah.
The only thing for me was her not quite fitting the category of the pussycat wig. So for me, it was a 9.
I'm going to give her a 10, especially because I really enjoyed just the style of her runway and the camp that she brought with it.
Yeah. Speaking of camp, someone who tried to serve camp on the runway was Plasma.
And instead we got Party City.
It was horrible. I hated the runway so much. I don't understand why she tried to mix Y2K with it. In questionably Y2K, adding headphones to something does not make it Y2K at all.
Well, and like, we know she's a fashion girl. And
well,
I know she's a fashion girl because unlike some people, I like to give them chances. Anyways, as a fashion girl, like, she mixed too many things. Like, that is an outfit that you can make, and that's an outfit you can pull off if you just do it. And instead, you're trying to add too much like her talent at the beginning of the season.
With her in the girl group challenge, I did enjoy the outfit, I will say. I did not like her lyrics. Her lyrics were very basic drag lyrics to me. Like, I felt like they were in any girl group or top 4 song. I was not impressed with the lyrics, especially, once again, someone who is or claims to be musically educated. I was a little disappointed with the lyrics. And the performance as a whole, someone who tried to take over the choreo, it did not show off for me.
I don't know. I feel like her lyric, not gonna lie, like, if I were to be on Drag Race and doing a girl group number 2 where I have to sing, lip sync, and dance, and plus do whatever with a group, I'm also probably gonna kind of cop out my lyrics a little bit. Just that way I can make sure I can lip sync.
Well, that's the first thing you do, though. What? That's the first thing you create is the lyrics. So I'm saying she copped out first. For me, Plasma was a 6.
Only because of her runway. Because I thoroughly enjoy her singing voice in general, and her hair was everything, and just her aesthetic. I'm gonna give her a 7. I'm gonna give her a 6.5.
It's a 7.
It's a 6.5.
It's a 7.
It's a 6.5.
Then it's a 6. It's a 6. With our paper and pen ready, it is time for a mandatory meeting. Who on the runway? What the I was so confused, and I'm sorry. I don't care what stupid, dumb story you try to give about a robin's egg. That is no.
Body question mark? I don't understand how you can
hides.
I don't
it
understand
was so bad.
How you can go from finally being liked and finally showing something to this.
In the matter of like 10 minutes of an episode.
Literally, like, now, do I think she had a great concept? Yes. Do I think she lost the concept? Yes.
On paper, yeah.
I can definitely see she started with a creative idea and then it just kind of like took a turn. I don't know what that concept was. At all. But she at least had something, which I give her props for, but that's literally all.
In the girl group, she actually did serve with her lyrics. I was not a fan of her outfit, nor her wig. Her wig was very questionable.
Her hair kept getting in her face, which kept getting me, because it was way too flat. But I give her credit. Her record in general for everything. Yeah. I give her a lot of credit.
I don't know. For the runway alone, it was a 5.
Honestly, I'm gonna give her a 7. Because I really enjoyed her performance.
She had so much potential at the beginning.
She did, and then the end just fell through. Someone
who's kind of been falling through the whole in season, for me, to be honest, is Tsunami. Who, in the runway, it was giving very lesbian. I constantly was being reminded of Missy Elliott.
It was. When I seen it, I got very lesbian, like Buckingham Palace guard. Yeah. Now I was living for the idea. I just feel like it was a little boring, and she could have pushed it a little further. Honestly, thus far, I think it's the most fashionable thing she's worn so far.
Well, that's how I felt in the girl group. She was very boring. She could have pushed herself so much further. She was forgettable. I will say, in the shoes, I was kind of gagged when the judges had pointed out that she had danced in the shoes. That is gaggy.
Yeah.
I could never, because that is a very painful looking shoe. But she was forgettable.
See, I thought she was fantastic in her performance.
I thought she was forgettable.
I did not like the outfit, personally, and I know you had mentioned that you also did not like the outfit. I feel like it was very...
Oh yeah, I literally wrote hated outfit.
I feel like it was very, like, mom's trying too hard. But I thoroughly loved thought her performance was fantastic.
Yeah.
And this is me also comparing to what she's done in the past too.
Yeah.
So
for me, it's a solid in the middle 5. Specifically just because I'm kind of forgetting Tsunami is there.
Right. I'm going to give her a 5 also because although I did love her performance, I forgot she was even on the cast.
I'm forgetting she's there. Lie. Yeah.
And when the episode came on and it was, the beginning of the episode, all the queens out of drag, I was like, who is that?
Exactly.
Oh, my bad.
She definitely needs to take some tips from our next queen on standing out, who is Plain Jane. Immediately in the runway, I thought Bane. And then I thought hot? ? I literally wrote Bane ? Hot ?
I literally wrote ? I'm confused. But it's...
It is. It really was.
It really was.
It was giving Batman, like Bane from Batman.
I can see that.
Yeah.
I was thoroughly confused over it, personally.
Especially with the category being Pussycat wig, and she said, oh yeah, I'm wearing a Pussycat wig, but look at all this other stuff.
Right. So like, I can't hate it, but I can't love it. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. In the Girl Crew Challenge, though, I thought she was good. The lyrics were incredible. The lyrics were campy. She was very pretty. She had the body yada yada. She slayed.
She always has the body first off.
She slayed.
Her look, she looked so good. And I know we mentioned it every episode thus far, but her face is so beat. Mm-hmm. And I love her face. Mm-hmm. She really turned that out. She's actually my number 2 of top 4 this week.
Mm-hmm. For me, it's gonna be a 9. I thought she was pretty decent this week.
I'm gonna give her a 9 too, and that's solely because I was so confused about her runway.
Yeah. Well, the 9 also, the drama. She pushed the drama, so that helped a little bit.
I mean, yeah.
Someone who is not pushing drama this week and who kind of heard in the background yet again, we had Miss Geneva Carr, and in this runway, I hated it. The leap comes back again. She is being murdered by this leap. The inner demon of the leap, I've had it. She needs to stop. She needs to let it go.
Do we not know the length that a gown is supposed to be? Mm. Because
I honestly...
you should be able to wear a gown and wear a sensible shoe underneath, and it looks like you're wearing the most elegant shoe underneath. Like...
I'm not gonna lie, the whole outfit was kind of immediately taken away and ruined for me the second I saw the link.
I don't know, I just didn't like the outfit in general either. It was not giving. It was, I don't know. I can't even say what it was giving.
Yeah. In the Girl Group Challenge, I genuinely thought she was doing good at first. I hated the outfit. I thought she was serving it at first. She had pretty decent lyrics at the beginning. Towards the end of her verse, though, she got very bad. I don't know what happened. But I think it was after she did the split, it just dropped. And I was like, okay, yeah, I'm not a fan of this anymore.
I don't know. I just hated the whole thing. Why is she dancing like a stick figure? Mm-hmm. There was no movement in her body while she was doing her steps. And then all of a sudden she did a spin and a split and that was it. And that was like, oh? Mm-hmm. Her outfit made me think of like
that, it was very basic
fabric that would be out here. Yeah, like that every drag queen has and has had since like they started drag, but never actually made something out of it.
Yeah, for me, it was the very beginning of it. Like I said, was very nice. Towards the end, it faded. She was a 7 for me.
I'm gonna give her a 4.
Oh wow, she really sung well.
But again, like I play off of the previous weeks as well, and she's been in the bottom twice. Like
she just hasn't done much, yeah.
And I don't think she's going to at this point.
Someone who also hasn't done much, but definitely did something this episode was Miss Maya.
She showed up.
Who on the runway was simple but cute.
Simple but good.
The immediate second I turned to you, I was writing down Mary J. Blige, and she said it the immediate second I was writing it. Yeah. And I was like, literally, it was serving very Mary J. Blige. I thought it was very cute, very simple. Reminded me a lot of Lala Ree's nighttime look in the season 13. Yeah.
I'll say, please don't say the bag look, bro.
No. And then in the Girl Group Challenge, she slayed. Hands down was the best of the episode. From the beginning, gagged us when she came in with that flip. Everything. She made me want to rewatch it like 10 times.
Literally, the only thing I wrote was finally. Finally,
she showed
we
up.
got to see what Maya can do.
She showed up.
Maya finally has broken out of her shell.
Everything. She served the entire moment. And she served the girls. She led the girls. Mm-hmm. The entire group collected just like that. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
The first initial somersault to that very clean backflip. Everything.
It was a 10 for me.
I'm going to give her a 9. Only because...
How dare you?
Only because the simplicity of her runway.
I kind of like the simplicity. I kind of feel like she's been serving a little too much every runway, that this simplicity was nice. You know what I mean? So I don't know. Speaking of her helping out her group, someone she helped out very dearly was Megami, who on the runway was,
everything.
I literally mentally ejaculated everywhere. Whenever she came out.
I can hear the beep.
Yes. Whenever she came out, I was obsessed. It was very pixie, I can't even, it was so good.
It was everything. It when I was looking at it, I was like, what is this giving me? And eventually I was like, it's almost giving me kind of like Candyland. Like the board game Candyland, which I live. And that is a whole different vibe for Megami, because she originally come in as
the
Antichrist, and now she's out here giving us Candyland for the kids. So,
and then she also gave a great illusion, because she did not look like she was wearing pads. She had tattoos all over her body, but she looked padded.
And she has a body. I love Megami's body.
Yeah, and then into the girl group challenge, she slayed. Maya got her right together because she was struggling beforehand, but pulled it all the way together. Because I did not notice a single misstep from her.
I did not. She slayed that, and that look, she looked so good.
And I'm not trying to put bad juju out there, because I am obsessed with Megami. You're obsessed with Megami. We both love Megami. But whenever we kind of always, ask each other, who do you think is going home this week before we watch the episode? Mine was Megami. I just feel like Megami's gonna fade, and I openly knew it was a girl group challenge, and Megami's not a dancer, so I thought she was gonna go home. And when I tell you, I was gagged when she pulled that out, because I was not expecting it. So for me, Megami was hands down a 10. That's my second 10 tonight.
For Megami, I'm gonna give her a 10. She's taken my number 1 this week.
She was incredible. And although she blew me away, someone who blows in the wind is Nymphia Wynn. And when it came to the runway outfit, I thought it was very clever. I thought it was pretty cute. Saphira kind of did the same thing, but I feel like Nymphia elevated it when she turned around and had,
Yeah. It was sickening. At first I was like, okay, she's doing her thing. We've seen this. And then she turned around and I about rolled off this couch.
Yeah.
It was so funny.
It was very clever, very campy. As far as the girl group challenge, I hated her lyrics. The lyrics were not it for me. She was good in the choreography, but she was hands down my least favorite of the group.
See, I wouldn't put her below Geneva, though.
I would.
I wouldn't.
I would.
I lived for her performance.
Her verse was just so no.
See, the one thing that was getting me was I wrote on her runway sickening, but where was that in the challenge? Where was her fashion in the challenge?
Yeah.
Which, I mean...
Because it was a basic yellow leotard.
Right. Which, I mean, yes, there are fashion restrictions to a girl group challenge, but you can still do something cool.
Yeah. So for me, Nymphia this week was a 7.
She kind of fell through the cracks for me this week. I'm going to give her a 7.
After all of the deliberations and the callback to the runway, we find out that Saphira and Plain Jane decide to save their potions this week. And then we also find out that Geneva, Maya, Megami, and Nymphia are the winning girl group challenge this week. So they all win.
Slay.
And they all get to split their money, which I would be a little upset about, I'm not going to lie.
We still also have not gotten an expiration date on these potions.
Exactly, which I'm still a little questioning of that. But after we hear the judges throwing some shade at Amanda's padding, we hear them ask who they think should go home this week.
Yeah.
And this was a tie-up. I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't really expecting Q to kind of be thrown under the bus that much. Mm-hmm. But Q and Amanda both tied with 4 votes, and Tsunami had 1 vote, which I'm not gonna lie, I would have voted for Tsunami. Like, to be very honest.
Yeah, out of all of it, I would have done Tsunami as well.
And with this, kind of speaks for itself. Q and Amanda are the bottom 2 of the week.
And I'm gagged.
Which is, kind of gaggy for me.
Because, I mean, Q's been a front runner this whole time. Mm-hmm. Not a slip up. Like, she's been in the top. She's done what she's
Well, I'm not gonna lie. She definitely deserved to be in the bottom.
Oh, 100% she did. But, like, I didn't expect her to just shoot directly to the bottom.
Well, that's what you get for, whining about being safe.
Which, I mean...
being in the top. I'm sorry.
Right. Which, I mean, I know it happens like that, but at the same time, I don't know, it just kind of gagged me.
Yeah. Well, even bigger of a gag is this lip sync where Amanda slayed and Q still won. And the room falls silent.
Okay.
Immediately what I think of is Q twerking. Well, I'm sorry, trying to twerk.
Is that what that was?
That should have immediately been an elimination. They should have said, pause the music, hey, you gotta leave.
Second off, does she even know what floor work is?
Yeah.
Because what she was doing was crawling around on the floor like a dog. It was horrible.
I was very confused.
It was not it for me. And I am very, very upset that Amanda got sent home. Mm-hmm. And that's honestly 2 gaggy eliminations in a row. And I'm one that would have sent Amanda home multiple times before this. Yeah. But she did not deserve to go home for this.
No, I definitely agree. And, you were a Q fan for the start. Mm-hmm. And we were both very confused. I genuinely don't know what happened. I'm lost for words. And the only thing I can possibly think of is it was Q over Amanda. That's the only thing I can think of, to be very honest with you.
See, and, like, the one thing that gets me is the lip sync was horrible. Mm-hmm. Performance was horrible. Runway, I loved it. It could have been better. Mm-hmm. It wasn't like the most star-dazzling. Amanda slayed that lip sync. Slayed the performance, other than her padding. Mm-hmm. And the only other thing that she really didn't do is her runway. So statistic-wise for me, why is Q still here?
Well, also speaking of statistics, because you brought it up, Amanda wasn't eliminated, but looking at our ratings, Q was the worst with 6. Mm-hmm. So statistically, it does make sense.
Mm-hmm. And Amanda split everything. Yeah. She mopped the floor with Q.
I don't really understand because it was a very confusing. We had Mirage last week. That was already a confusing situation. Yeah, Amanda was bad. When it comes to our ratings, actually, Amanda was 12, which was not even really close to the bottom. Because you had Q with 6, you had Tsunami with 10, and then you even had Geneva with 11. Mm. So, in our opinions, Amanda wasn't even bad enough to be in the bottom.
Right.
But let alone bad enough to lose that lip sync. So I definitely agree. When it comes to our top rating of the week, we had Megami in the very highest place with 20 points.
Okay.
I think that's our perfect score so far.
Our first
perfect score. Yeah, 20 points. Which I feel like was definitely deserved. Mm-hmm. Although her whole entire team won, I feel like if there was one winner of the entire team, it would have definitely been Megami.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So after this week, do you have a favorite so far?
I mean, I've already got my top 4 for this week.
Who would your top 4 be?
So my top 4 in order would be Megami, Dawn, Plane, Morphine.
Okay. So I would say Dawn, Megami, Saphira.
Okay. I'm not mad about that.
And Morphine.
Okay. I'm not mad about that.
No.
Plain Jane and Saphira are kind of like that one that's you're either 4th or 5th.
You and I were talking about, I genuinely enjoy Plain Jane. I just don't really see her going far. I don't see her making it to top 4, although we might want her to go to top 4. She doesn't scream top 4 material. Mm-hmm. And something we were discussing, before this episode was when that time comes, because I feel like that time is going to come, I cannot wait to see Plain Jane eliminated. Mm-hmm. The way her reaction is just going to be incredible. Incredible.
I personally, my views, I see anywhere between 4 to 6 people being eliminated before her if they don't.
No, I definitely see her like top.
I can see it. I would say it's 5, 6.
I just don't think she's gonna make it the top 4.
I mean, so far though, she's.
Yeah.
I mean, she's not disappointing.
And I don't see her disappointing next week because next week is a branding challenge where they had to brand dolls with their own brand. It's a lot of brands.
Her doll's going to be even shadier than her.
Yeah, so I can't wait for that episode. Don't forget to catch the new season of RuPaul's Drag Race on MTV every Friday.
And of course, come to the channel every Wednesday at 2 p.m., 2:15 give or take, to listen to us rate these queens.
New.
So with one show down, let's see what else is to come this week and the next few weeks. So our next video coming up on the YouTube channel is a video that we actually did together. Spoiler alert, I'm going to try to get into the habit of announcing the videos on the podcast because I'm not so good at posting a teaser for the YouTube videos anymore just because they get,
they kind of all run into each other at this point.
They really do. But the next video coming up is where we rank our favorite seasons of Drag Race. And this was an attempt to kind of do a backup video. And it honestly worked out because with scheduling, some things happened and had to get moved around. So this video popped up and we kind of had the idea to do, we discussed in the last podcast how I wanted in segments of the preferred few one week and, a show video the next week and the preferred trivia the next week and so on and so forth. We had the idea of making Drag Race content videos and calling it a certain, name and doing that, once a month. So if y'all would like to see more of that, make sure to comment on that video or even on this video saying, hey, yeah, we want to see more Drag Race content. Because of course we mentioned the upcoming and current season on the podcast, which you're listening to now, but we don't ever really talk about the old season. So I thought that was a pretty interesting video. And when we filmed it, it was very easy to film because we talk about Drag Race way too much.
Especially being, if you didn't see it, then you were not on social media yesterday, but RuPaul's Drag Race hit 15 years since their very first season.
Yeah, so that's 15 years of us to talk about. We're very behind. And speaking of behind, you have UK versus the World Season 2 coming out this Friday.
Oh, is it already?
Yeah, February 9th. So we're going to briefly talk about that next episode because we do obviously plan to watch it, but we're not going to really stay focused on that until after season 16 is over just because that's way too much topic to go over. But who knows? Maybe once again that could be featured in the Drag Race segment video. So
and it helps because we're not doing too much Drag Race like everybody else does.
Yeah, exactly. And that was my main whole point with not including Drag Race on the YouTube channel. So, but sometimes you give in and videos have to be made. So, and speaking of videos and speaking of today's topic of Slay, which is drag shows, the newest video on the YouTube channel is Running a Show, which I go over in depth of how I put together my shows for the preferred show and how you can take tips and learn how to run your own show. So it's a pretty interesting video. It was honestly a video I've wanted to do for a minute, just in, behind the scenes video. And I even mentioned in the video itself, that's a lot of videos, that if you would like to see an actual behind the scenes, like, during the dressing room section of a drag show, that's something that is also in possibilities that we've talked about. But yeah, so make sure to go give that video a like. It is up now. Go give it a comment, a share. We love share on this channel.
Come on, share. Alexa, cue Maya's share impression.
Yeah, definitely. And as the video is, promoting the show, the next show is Heart On, which is coming this weekend, Saturday. It's the preferred show, and it's going to be a super exciting show. As we mentioned, it has Gina, Florian, Amber, Johnny Cyrus, and of course myself at Dothan Dance Club at 11 p.m., the one and only Dothan Dance Club, the only gay bar, queer bar, drag bar in Dothan. And then speaking of shows, we, as mentioned, just had a show at The Quest, which was a lot of fun.
It was everything.
With Victoria Taylor as the host. And then we also had Gina. Gina come in and do a little tip spot. It was so much fun. And hopefully we get to see more of preferred editions at The Quest coming soon. You never know.
Hopefully.
Yeah. Speaking of some things to come, rounding it up, is Country Queen auditions are actually due today. when this is coming out. So make sure to get your tape in. And just to put it out there, not to make it a bummer, but if we don't get enough applicants, we cannot make the show happen. So please make sure to go get your video submitted today.
With those exciting things to come, I'm ready for these new exciting questions.
Don't forget, you can ask us questions similar to these.
All you have to do is click the link in both of our link trees.
All right, so my question for you, Amber, is at what time do you usually go to bed? I mean, that's a great one.
Wait, I go to bed?
I mean, that part.
So on a normal basis, being an entertainer alone is very hard to have a sleep schedule, especially when you work a day job. So typically the beginning to the middle of the week, I'll usually pass out about 4:35 at the absolute latest.
In the morning.
Yeah. And then the weekends, and so like typically Thursday through Saturday night / Sunday night. A lot of times I don't go to bed till 8, 9, 10 in the morning. Depending on the day, sometimes 6. Yeah, a lot of times I'll go to work on like an hour or 2 of sleep. Mm-hmm. What do you look for in a best friend? As well as, who is your best friend and why is it Amber V. Valentine?
Why did you read that? Did you leave that one? Horrible. Trash. So, in the sense of we're actually going to do this question, you're trash. So, first off, I hate you. Secondly, when it comes to best friends, I don't know, best friends has always been like such a narrow term for me because when I was in high school, well, taking it back all the way to middle school, when I was in middle school, everyone had a best friend and I was the loner kid. And I was like, well,
makes sense.
I don't... This is why I'm not answering this question. And I was like, well, I don't have a best friend, so I'm just going to make everyone my best friend. You know what I mean? And that's kind of where I became an extrovert, and then I became a theater kid, and that helped, so on and so forth. And then came trust issues, which came from, saying that everyone's my best friend. Mm. And carrying on into my adulthood, that became even harder because so many adults, let alone, in high school you're teenagers, so many adults are so untrustworthy. But when it comes to looking for a best friend, I mean, honestly, I don't really, this, well, you asked this question, so you know this. I call a lot of people my friends or acquaintances, but I don't really get close with people or let people inside because of those trust issues. So if you get to the point where you're let into that side, you're already a close friend. And if you get to the point where you're staying at my house 4 nights a week and filming podcasts nearly every night, then... yeah, I guess you would be a best friend. But also, as mentioned, and I know you've dealt with most of the drama that I've had going on recently. I have a lot of reasons to have trust issues, and a lot of those do come from quote-unquote best friends who, you do one thing for you and they turn around and take 10 other things from you. So, but yeah, it's definitely always been a sticky subject because friendship as a whole, humans as a whole, are so complicated. You know what I mean? They're so difficult to navigate. I can barely navigate myself, let alone be in the mind of someone else. Mm-hmm. So, and the good thing about you is we both are so honest, and we're honest people in general. We always say what's on our mind. And half the time we just, we'll smoke a bowl of cereal and not even really know what's going on to the point where
we're just so laid back.
We don't have to worry about that negativity or that toxicity because all we do is talk about drag, watch Drag Race, watch The Nanny, watch The Golden Girls, and eat a bowl of cereal.
Every now and then have that one moment where we're in our feelings and then that's it.
Yeah.
And that very rarely happens.
Or the moment where, you scuff my shoe and I'm like, get the off. As mentioned, click the link in our bios to ask your question for us.
What are you waiting for? Go do it. Now. You know you want to. Don't make me call the police.
Not the police.
The police.
Policia.
I'll call Cher. And when you do, go share. Because, share. Oh.
Share. Oh. Wagon Wheel Tuesday.
Wagon Wheel Tuesday.
Well, with us being all talked out, it's time to end the episode. Make sure to follow me on all of my socials at The Only Preferred for brand new videos, shows, content, looks, hooks, crooks.
Oh, not the crooks.
Well, I'm busting the crooks on my content.
Keep it in there.
I'm keeping that in, yes.
You can also follow me on all my socials at Amber_V_Valentine on Instagram and TikTok. And Amber Valentine on Facebook to see all my looks and crooks and scooks and books. And no, I don't read. I don't read. I choose not to read. Reading is boring.
Don't forget to comment who your favorite was in this episode of RuPaul's Drag Race. And if you are listening on Spotify, if you're one of our Spotify viewers, one, thank you so much. And two, make sure to check out those polls and questions available to you on Spotify.
And follow for more episodes of the Preferred Podcast every Wednesday on Spotify and YouTube.
It's been nice talking.
And we'll talk to you later.
Stay preferred.
And full of love.